Welcome to A Nice Place to Podcast, a City of Fountain Valley podcast. Join us each month as we discuss all topics, fun, informational, and educational, that's related to Fountain Valley. We appreciate your support and thank you for watching.
Hello, welcome back to A Nice Place to Podcast, episode number 10. I'm your mayor and host, Glenn Grandis, and I'm happy to introduce our guest today, President of the Fountain Valley School District School Board, Steve Schultz. Welcome, Steve.
Thank you for having me, Mr. Mayor. Appreciate it.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor. That's I've known Steve for a very long time. His brother Stuart and my son Philip were in Indian Guides together. That's 30-something years ago.
At least, yeah, probably, yeah.
Yeah, so I've known you a long time. So tell us, who's Steve Schultz?
I am the president of the school board of the Fountain Valley School District. I'm a teacher at Fountain Valley High School. I was born and raised in the city of Fountain Valley, and I'm happy to be. I've been calling you Mr. Mayor for a long time before you were mayor, and I think it's so cool. And one of my favorite things that someone ever told me, his name was Pat Williams. He just recently passed away. He was the co-founder of NBA Orlando Magic. And when I was 19, he said this to me, that every day of your life, people are watching you taking notes. The problem is you don't know who, and oftentimes they don't know they're taking the notes until later on. And I've been taking notes from you mentioned for 30 plus years and not realizing it. All the work you do in the community, subconsciously I'm watching that. Okay, this is how you do it. This is how you give back. And so how cool is it now that you as a Barron alumni, we're the two government agencies in the city of Fountain Valley are being led by two Barron alumni for the first time. And I think that's just so cool.
I'm
growing
pretty
up with
proud
you.
of that.
Yeah, it's like
I think that's cool.
Two local FV kids are now helping all of Fountain Valley be even greater and elevate to new heights is a really cool thing. And I don't know if my story is possible without your story. We're all connected in some kind of way. So,
I appreciate you saying that. I think you give me a little bit too much credit. You are an amazing individual, and I've done so much. So let's talk about the school board for a second.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about what were some of your goals when you were first elected? And actually, before we even get to that, why'd you run?
I had been getting phone calls for many years about from staff members, from teachers, thinking, we really need your voice on the school board. I think writing that leadership column every month at FE Living Magazine for 11 years, people started seeing my ideas not only on leadership, but better ways to do school, build community, be a more loving neighbor. And so it was reaching people. Again, people were taking notes more than I realized. And I kept getting these phone calls. I kept saying, no one cares about my voice. And they're like, I don't think you realize how many people do. And like, we really need you. And I was so busy coaching basketball at Los Al and teaching full time. I just, I ran for city council when I was, I think, 24 or 25, lost by 1,000 votes, almost became the first FE Barron mayor. But, and I learned a lot. I can remember still being in Albertsons where I used to bag groceries as a kid in high school. And this mother stopped me. And this is like maybe 2-3 years after that, at that election for city council. And she said, "You're Steve Schultz?" I said, "Yeah." She goes, "I want to thank you so much." And the proudest moment of my life was I was voting in the voting booth and my 20-year-old son was next to me voting. And the only reason he was voting is he saw someone his age he could vote for and talking about things that mattered to him. Right. And so you don't always realize, even if you don't win, you're still making a difference in some kind of way. And so there was also some kind of like some nastiness in the political things, and like people were saying things that I didn't want to be part of that again. And but I kept getting more and more phone calls to people asking me to run. And then the first time I ever spoke at a board meeting was about 5 years ago. And for the first time ever in the district history, they became an impasse with the employees over contract negotiations. And it was only like I think it was like a percentage or two. I don't remember the exact amount. And they all speaking for the school board. And they asked me to come speak. And I was like, "You really think And I'm like, "No, your voice would carry a large weight." And I came and spoke, asking the school board, because FVSD is now one of the lowest funded districts in the county, but we have some of the highest test scores. But our employees were some of the lowest paid before I got onto the school board. And I just asked the school board then to end the impasse and do more. I read the report, the budget, and there was more there they can give, and they end up giving more. And the second time I was in the school board room, I was being sworn in as the new trustee. And so I'm so happy to say now that we're not the lowest paid anymore, you know, and we made a lot of great changes. But being a former student in the Fountain Valley School District.
So which schools did you go to?
So I was a Geeser Gator, a later Gator, even they don't have split times anymore. And then I was Mitsuda Monarch, and then I was a Baron. And so too much of education policy is created by non-educators. Politicians and a lot of school boards across the nation are people who have never had any experience actually being in the classroom.
Well, let's talk real quick.
Yeah.
So you're a teacher now.
Yeah, I teach at Fountain Valley High School. It's my 16th year, 15th year. Yeah.
Wow, you've been there 50.
Yeah.
Time flies.
Yeah.
And what are you teaching at Fountain Valley?
I have English honors freshman and then 4 college prep sophomore English classes this year. It changes every year, but yeah.
Okay.
So I'm enjoying it. And then 2, you know, majority of our FVSD kids, not all, you know, some go to Edison, but a lot of them come to Fountain Valley High School. So I was seeing the product and I thought, you know, that's something they don't have is someone who is seeing the next phase of what is happening to our FVSD kids, who knows what they need and knows what they're not getting, and also who was a student in that district too and is an expert in the field of education. And so after hearing from people, I got involved. In fact, like I said, going back to you again, there's a fear factor, I think, getting in the arena, especially when it comes to politics. And we're lucky in Fountain Valley, it's not as nasty as a lot of other places.
True.
But it's still, people can say some mean things, some untrue things, especially with social media nowadays. And a lot of people don't want to get involved in that. And I remember calling you. It was the day, like I had filed, I don't know people work, when you pull papers, it's public, people can know. But then you still have to go in and do the finalization.
Right.
And I remember I had pulled the papers and I called you the day before and said, I'm not going to do it. I was like, I had talked to some people, they were like, you know, you're going against 2 incumbents, they never lost before, you should probably wait, I don't think you can beat them. And I'm like, I don't want to lose again. You know, I lost when I was young, and you told me, I think, not only do I think you can win, but even if you don't, I think you'll inspire a lot of people. And if it wasn't for the phone call, and you were running your own election too, right? And your encouragement gave me the courage to go sign the paper and do it. And now look, here we are. You're the mayor, I'm the president, and
I remember that phone call.
It made a big difference in my life. And then because of that, anytime I have an employee come up to me and talk about how much better their working conditions are now, that's you too, you know, because think about, we just did this thing today with my classes about, we do this I wonder part, where you say, I wonder, then you add whatever you want. And I did the first one today, and then they're gonna do their own tomorrow. But I said, I wonder how my life would be different if fear didn't exist. You know, like the Inside Out movie with Pixar was like all the different emotions. What if the emotion of fear never existed? Think of all the things we would attempt and try to do because we're not afraid of outcomes. And I think back now, like, wow, that one phone call and all the phone calls people who asked me for years, and I was finally able to do it. We've improved a lot of people's lives, not just the employees, but the students as well. So that's really cool.
How is the Fountain Valley School District? How are the students doing?
Oh, they're doing amazing. We just, a wonderful article came out in OC Register a few weeks ago. And for the first time in history, we're number 1 in math now, elementary in all of Orange County. Never happened before.
Wow.
It's huge. But we're also some of the top, and test scores aren't everything. There's so much more to the healthy child than test scores. But math, English, and science, we keep climbing up. Even though we're one of the lowest funded districts, you know, I think we own
per student.
Yeah, but we're around 14,000, I think, right now. You have some up as high as 30 in our state. And so it just, you know, but yeah, we outperform them with less. It's a testament to our incredible staff who give so much. You know, and one of the things, anytime I hear people talk in a city council meeting, they always talk about, I moved here because how great the schools are. But how unfortunate that the employees who make this place so great can't afford to live here. And so needs to change. You know, the staff members and the teachers who have made these schools so favorable, a lot of them are driving really far away to be here. Most, if you're a single income, can't even afford to rent out a 2-bedroom apartment in this city. So we still have a lot more work to do. Our hands are tied to what Sacramento gives to us, but we keep fighting the fight to try and do what's best for our employees and our students.
Yeah, well, that's so important for the city, too, as you mentioned, the high test scores, because that drives people into the city. And it's important for the city to have younger families come in. So
I think I saw a stat recently that only 13% of Fountain Valley residents have school-aged children anymore.
right.
And that's alarming, and so, and it's hard though if, when you have basic homes selling for $2 million, it's hard for young families to come in here. And one of the reasons why, and not just in Fountain Valley, across the state of California, declining enrollment has been a major issue. A lot of people have left in the past, since the COVID lockdowns and all these things, other states. They could sell their home here for $1.5 million and go buy a home for cash for $500,000 somewhere else. And when they base our pay on enrollment and average daily attendance, we're getting killed across the state. And we've kind of had a buffer for a little while because they averaged to 3 years. But, if a kid is sick and doesn't come to school, we still have the same amount of staff members, but we're not getting the same amount of money. Right. It used to be if your parent called and said, my son or daughter is sick, you still got, they took that away now. They don't even, or if a kid's on a field trip, we're not getting paid for that, even though we have the same amount of staff. And so it's very convoluted the way they do these funding formulas.
How is the funding of the school district? How are you guys doing?
It's not good, So it's like people are trying to get a home who make a little bit too much but not enough to afford the home. We don't have what's called duplicated actuals. These things where we don't have enough. There's 4 main ways you're funded, and 2 of them we don't get anything for. So we don't have enough English language learners, and we don't have enough in poverty to get all the extra funding that, say, a Garden Grove or other school districts do. And you can use that money on for everybody, not just, And so I've had so many phone calls or written letters to both federal and state legislators to try and hear from not only am I a school board president, but I'm a teacher as well. I'm in the front lines every day. And I even did a thing on FV Facebook page, giving everyone all the addresses you can write to too. And I know some did that, but you speak to legislators. Unfortunately, money rules our country and not morals. And the fact that in America our kids have to do bake sales still this day and fundraisers for anything is a travesty.
All right. So you talked about finances. One of the issues that you're facing. What are some of the other issues that you face as a school board?
It's and we've done a really good job in getting kids coming back to school. We were the second district in all of Orange County that went back to full-time in-person learning when the COVID shutdowns happened. And that's paid dividends for us. But it's, a kid should look forward to coming to school. And when the lockdowns happened for a lot of kids, it was like, oh, I can just sit at home and watch Netflix and, do a few worksheets. And so getting them re-engaged, just getting how they treat each other with all the mental health is a huge problem. Every single year at Fountain Valley High School, suicide ideation and kids hospitalized has increased dramatically every year for the past 7 years. It's not getting any better. And we have expanded. We hired for the first time ever, we hired counselors for all of our elementary schools in our school district, because even that young, our kids are needing counseling now. But we started something that I think is really cool. I think too often we're just focusing on, fixing something or curing something after you get sick and not preventing something. And so one of the things we did as a school board, they started last year and it's really kind of being fully implemented this year, is our guiding principles. And culminates with what we call the Lighthouse Leadership Award, which is an idea I was trying to get for 4 years, and I finally got it passed when I became president. But too often we have like a Student of the Year award. What does that really mean, right? But there's no real criteria, and so we created these 7 principles, virtues, if you want to call them that, love, perseverance, things like that. And every month across the district, all 10 schools, from TK to 8th grade, your son or daughter is going to hear that word. It's going to be on the walls. We send it home to parents too, and they're going to get explicit instruction on how to incorporate this word into their world. I say to my kids all the time, your words create your world. But what words are we teaching kids? When you're dealing with mental illness, there's many factors that go into play in that. But you got to give young people something to aspire to, a higher goal that's more than just achievement or clout that I can get, a flex on Instagram and get a bunch of likes. What's something of substance? And so I look back, if I was a kid, I got to hear about love and being a teammate for 10 years straight. That would have made a big difference in my life. And then we started last year is end of the year, each student at every grade level from every school gets the Lighthouse Leadership Award. And what's really cool is I have a kid in my honors class this year, and he goes, "Oh, you're the guy that gave me that award last year." And he said, "It felt so good that I was called a leader. Not just I was the highest achiever or the student of the year. I was the best leader in my grade, in my school." Awesome. And when you attach that word to someone, you change the future of their life. And so someone who sees themselves as a leader is not going to harm others or harm themselves. And so we have to start doing these preventative measures as well. Not only the other things we put, unfortunately, we had to put gates around all of our schools and things that, school shooting.
Let's talk about that real quick. So I know a lot of people were really in favor of putting those gates up and the things up.
And many weren't too. It was those are the issues that you and I have to deal with. I've seen you in this room do the same thing, is that's the hard part about, there's things I tell my kids all the time. Every one of you leaders, there's personal leadership, how you lead your life, and there's positional leadership. We have positional leadership. Now there's the things we do, no matter what we do on those type of decisions, someone's going to be mad at you. A large group of people are going to be mad at you. You have to go off. I spoke to the police chief of Fountain Valley and Huntington Beach and many experts. And yes, there's many schools, instances where there's been a school shooting and they had fencing and didn't stop it. But you don't want to look, God forbid something happens, you don't want to be able to say as a leader, I could have done more. We've done all we can, more so than ever before, to keep our kids safe. I know some are worried about the aesthetics. We spent extra money to make them look really nice fences too, and the way our team did it, so it's not like a prison where it's the full perimeter, but we tuck some things in so you can still see some of the flowers and the trees and stuff like that, and points of entry. But there's bigger issues at play here in our country that we need to fix. Again, and not just a mental illness, it's a moral illness we have to address as a nation, but we can control what we can control as local leaders, and we're doing all we can. And so there's other things we've done too that I'm not going to talk about for security reasons, but we it's sad because when those schools were built, this open school environment looks so nice and it's cool, but we've still done it where there's electronic locks, so after school hours, our community can still use all of our facilities. They can play soccer there, or baseball practice, or football practice. I was just walking around Geisler the other day, and there was 4 or 5 different practices over there, and it's really cool. And if you go to all of our elementary school, they have new playgrounds. All 7 of our schools got new playgrounds, and one of my big things is this idea of a teeter-totter, meaning when I was a little kid, my grandpa used to take me to Ellis Park, he used to have a teeter-totter. It'd be nice if our city parks got teeter-totters again, but all 7 of our schools have teeter-totters now. And symbolism of how you lead your life, how I live my life. Most people live transactionally, like you give, and I'll keep track and I'll give. But my grandpa used to just sit at the bottom and let me stay on top. And I remember that when I got older, I didn't realize at the time that what a beautiful metaphor to how we should live our lives. To lower ourselves, our needs, our wants, and elevate someone else to the top and never expect to bump back. We might get it, but we're not expecting it. And so we just finished Geisler's playground last week, and we surveyed our kids, like, what do you want? All the kids said, we want to do things in tandem with our friends. So we got double slides, we got double teeter-totters, double, cool. So we can play with my buddy at the same time.
Right.
And I'm watching this little girl and her older sister on the top of this big blue slide, and the father's down low, and they're, all right, go. And the little girl starts crying and says, I'm scared. And the big sis holds her hand, and daddy's just, don't worry, daddy's right here. And she finally slides down. And the second her feet hit the ground, she said, again. And that's what we're trying to do in education, is help our kids overcome any fears and get them strong enough. I can do it on my own now. I want to do it again and again and again. And there are people riding the teeter-totter. I saw some girl call her friends, it's open, it's open. And the next 10 minutes, there were 20 different kids who filled up Geisler's playground. And a lot of them were middle school kids that were coming back, like a little kid again. And so to provide that for our students, new playgrounds that haven't been updated in over 20 years. New textbooks haven't been touched in 20 years too. So many things we've done together I'm proud of. And again, it goes back to the people that encourage you to get involved, and now we can do good for other people too.
Well, that's awesome. Yeah. So what about how can the city and the school district work together?
You guys have been a great partnership. Our buildings are right across the street from each other. I mentioned this at a city council meeting the other day, is I'm the chair of it's called the Huntington Beach Safe Schools Committee, which is at City Hall quarterly. It's the mayor, it's the fire chief, the police chief, the city manager, and others, the head of the library. And then there's 5 schools in Huntington Beach. FVSD also has 3 schools in Huntington Beach. We also have a big section of Huntington Beach as part of our jurisdiction. And so we go to those and the superintendents, and we always talk about safety and different things we can, hearing what other districts are going through helps us kind of plan. E-bike safety is a big thing. We just had an e-bike safety at our district last week.
Well, we just put it, for people who don't know, we just put in a new e-bike ordinance.
Which is huge, yes.
And a big part of it is training, and we had that last week. That was the first step.
And you had police officers there talking to the kids. You were giving away prizes. And what was cool is there were parents and kids there, and they're hearing, when a kid sees a police officer in uniform, they're looking up to that person. They're going to listen. And so it's way more rampant in Huntington Beach, or Huntington Beach schools right now, the accidents and so forth. But that's a huge partnership. It's Maggie Lee's been amazing. Anytime
That's our city manager.
Yeah, anytime our superintendent.
Well, let's talk about you. So you have a new superintendent, Dr. Stopp.
Dr. Stopp. She's been fantastic.
I'm on the Schools Foundation board, so I work with her very closely, and just amazing. So we're so lucky to have her, huh?
And that's probably your biggest, maybe for you too. I don't know how often you guys hire a city manager, but in the education business, most superintendents, this is nationwide, are only 2 to 3 years is the average tenure of a superintendent before they go on. And so your number one job as a school board trustee is hiring a really good person, because we're given the vision and direction, but the superintendent is making sure it's like your city manager, it's the CEO, that stuff's executed on a daily basis, because we're not doing daily basis stuff. She is making sure that happens. And she's just been phenomenal at helping, a lot of the ideas that I try to get through kind of reached some brick walls my first 2 years, and her last 2, we've been able to get in every single thing I ran on, we've been able to accomplish. And that's a really cool feat to be able to say. And so just been amazing. And you can't fake love. She loves her job. She loves people. What we do as teachers or educators is we're loving strangers' children as if they're our children. Very few people in the world do that. And you'll see her, and what's rare about her is most superintendents were in the classroom for maybe 1 to 3 years, and they haven't been in the classroom for like 25 years. She was in there, I think, 16 years before she even got an admin at all. So to have someone that has that kind of expertise in curriculum and the art of engaging and enlightening youth is huge. And when we tour schools, you'll see her get on her hands and knees and get there and play with the kids and take over lessons. And that's my favorite part of the job, is touring schools. It's a whole nother realm. From my high school kids are great, but little 5-year-olds and 7-year-olds, like that godlike energy they have, that purity is so special. But one of the things I noticed, when you start off on a tour, I'll start with the kindergarten, go all the way up to 8th grade. The higher you go up in grade, the less hands go up. And so our kids have a natural curiosity. No one teaches a kid, but you go to kindergarten class, everyone's hand goes up every question. Kids are just shouting. They want to be heard. But as they get older, it's just, again, back to that fear we talked about. There's a fear of being made fun of, or whether they know the right answer, and it's harder and harder to see hands go up. And in a way, the natural curiosity that makes learning possible is somewhat killed. And so we've done a lot of things to try, and whether you're in 8th grade or kindergarten, you have that same kind of fervor and excitement to come to school. And Catherine Stopp's helped us do that with all of our staff. She's amazing.
Well, that's wonderful. All right, so we're getting towards the end. What do you see for 2025, or what are some of the things that you want the school board to accomplish over the next couple of years?
I want to continue to expand this Lighthouse Leadership program we've been working on. But one thing is as a writing teacher and as a nationally published author, getting kids to see themselves as writers and leaders. I do this little survey at the beginning of every year. Raise your hand if you identify as a leader, and raise your hand if you identify as a writer. And my first 4 years ago, I think I had 5 hands out of 185 hands. And this year we had like half the class's hands go up. And so It's starting to work, but it needs more time there. And one of the things we make a mistake in education, and again, part of it's politicians are driven by corporations, is more technology means more learning. That's not always the case. And if you think about how often our kids are on screens at home, but now when they come to schools, they're on screens all day too. We have the smart boards, we have the iPads, we have the one-to-one Chromebooks. And look, they're engaged on a screen. I don't know, is that engagement or not? And what does it do? So I'm trying to reduce screen time and increase writing time. Because writing is, for me, I thought I went all through high school and college thinking writing was just something you did, a chore you did every few months for a book report. You didn't really care about it. A lot of us didn't even read the whole book to begin with. You turned it in, you got some feedback 3 months later. And I didn't know writing could change lives. Like the first time I got a fan letter from someone at FE Living magazine, like I'm the kid that grew up with a stutter, that was shy, that, never thought my voice would matter, being high functioning, as they call it, autistic. Like socially, it was what seemed so easy for everyone else was so scary for me. And I know how much that matters to you as well with your son. And so when I've been blessed, I just have a brand new book coming out in 2 weeks. I have a copy for you because it's about growing up with high functioning autism. What that really means is not always obvious to people. And the saying of the Chicken Soup for the Soul is changing the world one story at a time.
All right, wait a sec. So Chicken Soup for the Soul, you mentioned that you actually published in that, right?
Yeah, this is my 14th story over the past 16 years. It's been published in Chicken Soup. And I've been in other books too, and other magazines. Educational Leadership Magazine is the leading national magazine of education. I've been in that about 5 or 6 times. And so I think, and what we did this year for the first time ever is we created a district-wide writing curriculum. It's never happened before. We invested the money. We had teachers pick multiple things. And this is something I've been trying to get my very first day on the job. And it's finally implemented this year. Because too often we say to teachers, okay, you just do it, but we don't actually train them on how to do it. And they're collaborating, working together. And when they come to me, I want them to realize your voice has value. It matters. And writing is not just some book report. It's a way to change the world in the way you want it done. And if every kid left, there's no, in democracy, if you can write and you can speak, you're powerful. Yet there's no requirement for a writing class or a speaking class in the American education system. I don't think that's accidental. And so we want to make sure our people are powerful and they realize that I can change the world. When I first spoke 5 years ago asking for more pay for teachers, I was petrified. I just spoke 3 weeks ago to all 700 plus members of our employees. I wasn't scared at all. Yeah. And so we want to help young people. The number one fear in America is public speaking. It's the old Jerry Seinfeld joke. I'd rather be in the casket than give them the eulogy. We have to change that. And so often in school, what we learn, as soon as that unit test comes up, we put it in the trash can and never think about it ever again. I might even ace the test, but if I gave you that same test 3 months later, you probably won't get an A anymore. So what are we really teaching? Short-term memory or long-lasting values and importance? And so I remember when I was a little kid, again, just back to taking notes, my mom won Teacher of the Year. And my mom used to work in the FVSD school district. And then she left for another district because they weren't paying enough in this district. And I should have been able to walk to school with my mom and said I didn't see her in the morning and she was driving away to Irvine. And when she won Teacher of the Year, and I was like maybe 10, I remember she had this quote in this video. It says, I want my kids to take the learning out the door, that it shouldn't just stay inside the walls. And I think that's important. If we can give kids skills, not just memory of short-term facts. If you can look it up on Google, it shouldn't be on a test. What is it? All you're practicing is short-term memory. But if I can write and I can speak and I look in the mirror and I see my face and I say, I'm a leader, that's forever. Right. And that's what we should be doing is reaching for forever.
Wow. Well, I appreciate you making the time to talk to us today.
Thanks for having me.
You obviously have such a passion for teaching and education and for all the kids out there. So that's really wonderful. And who would have thought back in the day when my son was in India Guides and your brother and I first met you, and then we coached against each other in NJB basketball. You coached your brother, I coached
volunteering
my son.
Again, right?
Yes,
giving back and.
Well, you've always been a leader and coach of at Fountain Valley High School basketball and LaSalle
Fountain Valley,
basketball.
LaSalle, 17 years, and then I stopped that. I've been doing this for the past 4 years. People always ask, why are you still teaching? I'm like, you don't get paid. They're shocked. They go, why do you do it? It's because that's our job, is to give back to the community. And how do I know that? Is I watch guys like Mayor Glenn Grandis do it.
Yeah.
So.
That's very kind. All right. Well, thank you for your time today. We learned a lot about the school district, and we learned a lot about you. So that was really good. I appreciate it. All right. So if you're interested in a subject matter to be featured on a podcast in the future, let us know. Send us an email over at feproud@fountainvalley.gov. So, Steve, Thank you again for being here today.
Mr. Mayor, it's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Of course. All right, so we hope you tune in next month to our monthly podcast series, A Nice Place to Podcast. I'm your mayor and host, Glenn Grandis. We'll see you next time. Thanks for tuning in. Take care now.